Good evening. It is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the November 14th regular board meeting of the Milton Area School District. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Frederick,
He'll be here. Will be late, but he will be attending at some point tonight.
Mr. Hosterman? Here. Mr. Hunt? Here. Ms. Kessler?
Here.
Mr. Moser?
Not heard from Mr. Moser.
Dr. Strasser?
Here.
Mr. Harris? Here. Dr. Weaver?
Here.
Mrs. Rance?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, this evening, Alana Baker. She's a third grade student. We're pleased to have her here this evening. She's the November Citizen of the Month from White Deer Elementary, and her parents are Wade and Amy Baker. Her teacher is Ms. Sees. Would you all please stand and pledge the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's here, Alana. Stay with us a second. I go get him. I got fixed it up with the SWAT. I have to say that was a great flag. Congratulations. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for being here this evening. Okay, we're going to start with presentations and comments from visitors. We'll start with our high school student recognition for the month of November, Mr. Rance.
Good evening, board. Good evening, community. We've got a great audience here this evening. So we're going to start off with our November Rotary Student of the Month. If I could bring up Talia Bardol. Talia. Talia is a senior member, third-year member of our Agriculture, Career and Technical Education program. She is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Terry and Tanya Bardol, resides right here in Melton. Talia, very active in our school community. She is a member of our National Honor Society, our Spanish Honor Society, the National Art Honor Society, also a member of Skills USA and FFA, where she is the Secretary for Skills, and she is the president of our FFA chapter. Last year, she was on the student advisory for FFA. She has also been involved in cross country, soccer, basketball, and track and field throughout her high school career. And her out-of-school activities, which it's just one line, but I think those of you that understand the agriculture industry and kind of the show community understand. She says, "I breed and show rabbits." That is a lot of time out of her yearly calendar, and she's dedicated to it and does an awesome job. In 8th grade, she received a medal from the American Legion Auxiliary. She earned her green hand and chapter degree through FFA, and this year she is going to be receiving her state level Keystone degree, which is a huge honor in the FFA community. Next year, she wants to continue to breed and show rabbits and also wants to work to become a dog groomer. So wants to continue in the ag field and continue to work with animals. I checked in with Miss Davis, our new agriculture instructor, as well as Mrs. Mabus, and they had this to say about Talia. Since starting my new position in Melton, Talia has been very welcoming and friendly. During class, when students are working on assignments, she politely asks if she can clean the rabbit pen. Knowing that she always hands in assignments on time and goes above and beyond on everything she does, I allow her to use that time to clean and care for the rabbits. Not only do I see her in the classroom setting, but Talia is also the president of FFA. In this role, we meet with her once a week to discuss the meeting agenda and activities, so when it comes to meeting time, she can lead the show. Talia has one of the highest grades in her ag class, and as her teacher, she is beyond proud of the lovely young lady that she is and cannot wait to invite her back as an alumni to come and talk to her students about her future career in agriculture. Our November Rotary Student of the Month and an outstanding representative for our ag program, CTE, and our FFA, Talia Bardol. And next up, I'd like to invite Dominic Ballo. He is our outstanding senior for the month of November. Come on up, Dom. Dom is the son of Mr. Brett Ballo and Mrs. Melissa Beaver, and he resides right here in Melton. Dom is involved in numerous activities in our building. He is a member of our National Honor Society, secretary for our Spanish Honor Society. He's also involved in our outdoor club and has also been a member of our varsity, an integral member of our varsity soccer team for all 4 years of high school. He has set the school record in soccer for most career assists with 61 overall, set the school record for most assists in a single season with 21. Sophomore year, he was awarded Hack 2 first team all conference. Junior year, Hack 1 second team all conference, and I have no doubt more accolades are on the way. Soccer season just finished up, but he had an outstanding season leading our team to the #1 seed in districts. He's undecided on where he's going to go next year. He's got a lot of different opportunities. But collectively, I talked to both Mrs. Hunter, his Spanish teacher, and Mrs. Rank, his PC Now English 12 teacher, and they had this to say. When asked to choose an outstanding senior, we immediately thought of this month's selection, Dom Ballo. Although this is our first year, or this is my first year having Dom as a student, I became very impressed very early in the semester with his work ethic and steadfastness in class. In everything we do in college composition, which if you ask the students is a lot, Dom is not only thorough in all of his assignments, but his work in writing continues to impress me in each paper that he writes. In addition, he is a quiet and kind student in class who asks questions to further his learning and never misses a deadline. Outside of the class, Dom is a leader on the field as a captain of the soccer team and actively participates in our National Honor Society, most recently volunteering to help move teachers into their new classrooms at Balker Elementary. How fitting. Dom is also a Spanish Honor Society officer, and Mrs. Hunter added that he's quick to volunteer his time and do more than what's asked of him. She also added that Dom is very helpful and thorough in his role as an officer and in class. She also noted as well that Dom is always pleasant and cooperative. Congratulations, Dom. We are honored to have you as a student and wish you the best in your future. Our outstanding senior for the month of November, another outstanding representative of Melton Area School District, Dominic Ballo.
Congratulations to our seniors. Thank you for being here this evening. Our next 4 awards are our Students of the Month from each of our schools. We'll start with White Deer Elementary.
Good evening, board and community. I'm very proud to bring to you this evening Jaden Beachel, who is one of our very well-traveled students in this district. He began his Milton career at Montandon, transitioned over to Balker for grades 1 through 4, and now I have the pleasure of finishing out his 5th grade at White Deer Elementary School. Jaden's one of our students that comes to school every single day with a smile and a positive attitude. He always expresses to myself, his teachers, his peers, how excited he is to be at school. And I think he's loved his year at White Deer and switching classes. So Jaden is such a hard worker, a very kind student. When we talk about using our paws, Jaden is just the personification of everything that myself, Mrs. Lilly, Mr. Marshall, Mrs. Zettelmoyer could ask for. So keep up the tremendous work, buddy. Keep working hard and being a good friend to everyone. Jaden Beachel.
Our next student is from James Bacher Elementary.
Sam, you want to come up here? Good evening, board, community. That's right. We have Sam Bear here. Sam Bear is a 1st grade student in Miss Bauer's class and also Miss Byers' class. And Sam Bear is sharing his birthday with us tonight. So I think it only appropriate that we break a little bit of tradition and maybe can we all honor Sam with a song on 3? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sam. Happy birthday to you. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining me in that. Sam is a positive, creative, and friendly student. He displays a strong desire to learn and is often eager to participate in class and school activities. He can be found singing familiar songs, drawing beautiful pictures of any animal he can think of. His positive attitude and hardworking demeanor make him a great role model for all students here at Bacher Elementary School. And Sam, my favorite thing to say about Sam Bear is this. Some people like a black bear, some people like a brown bear, but Sam, me, I like a Sam Bear.
Next, we'll honor our middle school student.
Good evening, everyone. Just so you know, I just looked while we were singing happy birthday. She has a birthday coming up on the 27th of this month as well. So happy birthday coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Grace Snyder. She is an 8th grader in the middle school. We're joined by her mother and father, Jill and Jeremy, this evening. Grace was nominated by 2 of her teachers, Mrs. Stauffer and Miss Dolan. Mrs. Stauffer says Grace has been working with our MDS learning support students as a peer buddy for the past 2 years. She is genuine, caring, and kind. She is intrinsically motivated to spend time with other students and to bring joy. She is genuine and compassionate when dealing with peers, adults, and faculty alike. I cannot say enough about this amazing young lady. Ms. Dolan says, Grace is absolutely amazing. She has been such a positive light in my students' lives. Grace goes above and beyond to include my students and help them become members of our middle school community. She will stop and say hello to them each time she sees my students in the hallway, and will even come visit my classroom during her free time. My students look forward to seeing Grace daily and value her friendship. As their teacher, it makes me so happy to see my students building genuine connections and friendships with their peers, and Grace is a wonderful role model for everyone. Grace Snyder, grade 8 in Milton Middle School.
Our senior high school student of the month.
Good evening, board. I have the privilege of introducing Miss Savannah Nixon. She is a senior in our high school. She is also a member of our CTE program. She is an amazing young lady and has quite a tremendous story. We talk every month about what it means to be a true Panther, a Black Panther, and what that means. And Savannah embodies that in more than just academics and more than just behaviors. She's a light for our community, and she has persevered through some adversity that I would never wish upon anybody. But she gave me permission to say that she has overcome cancer, and she is cancer-free at this point. So we talk about someone who embodies what it means to be a Milton Black Panther, and being able to persevere is something that is a huge part of that, and Savannah definitely embodies that. So I brought along one of her former teachers, Miss Smith, and Miss Smith is also her co-op instructor as well. So she has a few things to say about Savannah.
you guys are a lot taller than me. Like, I was like, I need some help. Okay. So I wrote some things down. So when asked to give a little blurb about the Panther Award, the following came to mind. A Panther is someone that shows spirit, that embodies enthusiasm, energy, and a strong sense of determination and resilience. In a school context, a Panther represents unwavering dedication, a positive attitude, and an eagerness to support and uplift others. Even at a time that others might have gotten down, she continued to strive for excellence. So one of my favorite memories is eating cake in her mom's car after she went through one of her treatments with Campbell, like Mr. Campbell. We went out and we got a cake and we celebrated. So that was your 10th grade year, I believe. Yes. So I have a strong 3-year relationship with her, and it even goes back before that. So Savannah goes above and beyond in extracurricular clubs such as Skills USA, where she serves as vice president this year, and volunteers for tons of community service, most recently with a veterans dinner at the middle school. Last year, she was a member of the community service team that collected for our very own Panther Pantry and represented Pennsylvania at the national level. Essentially, a Panther showing spirit represents a passionate and energetic force that rallies others and creates a lively and supportive atmosphere. Not only does she exceed and excel academically in the National Technical Honor Society, she is also a member of the National Honor Society. She has a passion for learning, innovation, and making a positive impact, setting a remarkable example for others to follow. So I was just here yesterday, right? And I was, she's employed for her co-op with Time as a STEAM educator. And Mrs. Browse has just said, second grade teacher, how helpful and like she's always has a positive smile on her face, and she cannot say enough positive things about Savannah. So she even said that her future is very bright in education and an example of our homegrown talent that stands out. So I feel that she's an excellent choice for the month. Thank you.
Congratulations to all the students. Thank you so much. This is the reason we're all here. We appreciate you being here and celebrate each and every one of you. Next, we're anxious to hear from our student representatives, all the fun things going on.
Good evening, board. We're excited to be able to update you on the month of November so far and the rest of October from last month. For arts, we have the National Art Honor Society will be helping at the Bacher Paint Night coming up on Tuesday, December 19th. And National Art Honor Society is also working on teacher doorways, where they'll be putting arches above all of the teachers' doors. Academically, National Honor Society just did induction on Sunday, November 12th, and 34 students were inducted and are now official members of Milton's chapter.
So for sports, we just finished quite a few of all of our fall sports. Cross country had 3 boys go to states. We have girls tennis, several qualifiers. And we just had a very nice fall sports season.
Also in the arts, we have the White Christmas musical first weekend of December 1st at 7 p.m., December 2nd at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., and December 3rd at 2 p.m. Tickets will be $10 online and at the door, and their Tech Week, where they run the show every single night, begins November 26th and runs up until December 1st.
For social, there was a Halloween band concert that was held on October 24th in the high school auditorium before the Treats on the Track event that happened.
We also held a pep rally on the 24th to celebrate athletes and their accomplishments, getting to states, districts, and the like.
Treats on the Track was held Tuesday, October 24th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Different clubs and sports teams set up stands on the track and participated in handing out candy and treats to community members who wanted to do that. And local vendors and were also in attendance, so food trucks and coffee shops.
Student Council also just held a teacher and staff morale event where we did teacher room service. We had door hangers that we passed out to all of the faculty, and then we collected those, and then we handed out their favorite drinks and snacks.
We also held a food drive. So students could bring in canned goods, boxed items into their first block class in order to compete for a chance to go to Breaking Bread for a nice breakfast. And I believe Mr. Walter's class won with 185 items of food.
That's all that we have for you guys this month. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a lot going on to hear from you. Thank you again. Next is our Panther Pride Award.
Join Mr. Decker and I up at the microphone. As amazing as it is to honor our students, I am so proud of this award to give to Miss Elise, our ESL aide. My 19 years as an administrator in this district, I don't think there is anybody more deserving of this award. She, Panther pride in everything she does. She exudes it. Whether it's welcoming the kids as they come in the building, first thing. She knows all of their names. She knows their histories, everything about them. It puts a smile on their face, and she does that every day. She's here early. She stays late. She does whatever is asked of her. Everybody knows the shortage we've had on subs. Need subs. I'll go get my guest teacher. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And Miss Elise has gone above and beyond in anything that we've asked her to do. Rapport that the job she does as an ESL aide, the relationship she's established with the kids, her ability to speak Spanish and translate and communicate. She has made this building for our ELL students a safe place for them to take risks and feel comfortable in making mistakes. So she gets them where they need to be. And she doesn't just do that for the ELL. She does that for every student in this building. Whether it's the duty in the morning, the duty at lunch, at the end of the day, she's asking, what can I do to make children's experience here a better one? She's in the process now of, she is a teacher. The things that she does, the role that she's playing, you're currently in the process of getting that. But as you can see, the support she has from the staff here when she came up, the applause, it is genuine. She is an amazing person. The reason Mr. Decker's up here is because when Mr. Decker came to us from Williamsport, he also was the one that recruited Elise to come with us. So we got two amazing individuals in our district that came from Williamsport. Mr. Decker has some kind words he would like to say about Miss Elise as well.
Yeah, I will say Mr. Slater did take a lot of the gravity of my words up. That's okay though. Literally within the first month of starting here, I sat down in my living room and my wife said, I have this friend who she's certified in Spanish, but doesn't have a teaching degree. And she's looking for a job with kids. She just finished. Like you don't have anything in Milton for that, do you? Yeah, we do right now, like immediately. And it has been a great fit here. She goes above and beyond. The world just needs more people who say yes. And whatever it is, yes, I'll do it. I'll figure out a way. We try to do that every day here. And I know a lot of us say, I'm not really sure what today is going to bring us when we go to our job. Like she really doesn't. Like she walks in the door and asks Cindy Snyder, am I myself today? Who am I? And then she just rolls with the punches. And not only that, but I think everybody back here can agree. She speaks wisdom to faculty members. She's just a huge benefit to this building, to this district. So it is well deserved and well received, Miss Elise McClellan.
Congratulations, Elise. Thank you for being here this evening. Sure is fun to have all these celebrations make us feel wonderful being among great people. We appreciate all you do for our school. Next is, I guess we have a fun surprise. I'm going to let Dr. Bickhart,
Sure.
I'm not even sure what this presentation is about, so.
So, all right, board, very exciting tonight. Incredible surprise for you. I'm going to invite Mr. Norm Jones and Mrs. Megan Balaam to the mic. We are very excited to share with you this evening a very generous donation through W&L Subaru. Mr. Jones has worked with W&L, and his relationship with us has brought this to us. So I'm very excited. I will leave it at that. And Mr. Jones, I'll turn it to you to share the next step.
Fun surprise.
We are a fun surprise at WL.
Maybe that's your new motto.
It is going to be our new motto, hashtag fun surprise everywhere we are.
There
so.
you go. Nice.
But-
Well, thank you all. I want to introduce, if I can, Megan, a little bit and talk about W&L very briefly. I could probably talk about them for a while. You know, disclaimer, I did a commercial for them years ago, driving around in a white Subaru, and I was not paid to do it. I gave my testimony of them freely of my own word and was not compensated. So I feel it's important to say that. But I will say this. They have been a true partner to communities all over, but I want to brag about Milton. It was 6 years ago, I just saw on a YouTube channel that Megan and Andy Long, the owner of W&L, one of the owners of W&L, came to me and said, hey, Subaru cares about learning, and we have these pillars of love that we share with communities. Norm, how can we help Milton? And I said, well, you know, what do you want to do? And she said, we have books, STEM books. And so she called me up and I said, well, you know what, Mrs. Carrie Killian would love to have STEM books here. And they showed up in
Outback, I think
an
it was,
Outback.
yeah.
Okay, we'll plug the brand a little bit. And with boxes and boxes and boxes of books.
Yep.
And we used some of the kiddos and we delivered them, and it was fantastic. And some of those books are still found. This was before the redesign of the library, so I was really happy a couple months ago to go through and still find one of those Subaru Loves Learning books. It's still there,
Yeah.
still being used.
Still tagged, yeah.
So 2 years ago, when Brett and I and many members of the Capital Campaign Committee reached out and we were looking for other businesses to support, of course we went to Megan and Andy, and they didn't bat an eye. They helped us build our athletic complex in the wellness center and made a very generous donation. You'll see if you're at a sporting event, you'll see their banner hanging proudly on the fence there. So I think it was, you know, there's an ongoing relationship here is what I'm trying to set up with Megan and with Andy. And so maybe 5-6 months ago, we started to talk about other meaningful ways that W&L could help the Milton School District. And I'll
Yeah.
kind of let you take it from there. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Norm. And thank you guys for having me tonight. Sorry, Andy could not be here. So he's traveling all the time and pretty busy. And so I'm proud to be here speak on his behalf. But W&L has always been a community-oriented dealership. It's a dealership that has always set itself apart prior to me even being there. Anywhere I traveled, and I did TV advertisement prior to that, and it was W&L everywhere I went, or in the community. They're doing this, they're doing that. How do we compete with them? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then they became one of my clients, and that's how I met them, and instantly became a part of their family. And now with 3 kiddos of my own, and I've been with them, and just seeing all this different stuff that they do to support our youth, to support our community has been amazing. So we were sitting there pondering some ideas of how do we get involved? How do we continue to be involved through the community? And one of our GMs talked about some different things, and a backpack program came up. And I thought, I know who I'm calling. And I said, Norm Jones. He's got the answer to all these things. He's so involved with the Milton School District. I know he's going to set us up. He'll tell us what they have going on there, maybe how to facilitate this, how to get this up and running. So Norm and I had a conversation, and we put some things into place. And through the Subaru Loves to Help program, we've set up a staple that we will be able to do and continue to donate and fund on a monthly basis for a year. And I'm sure it will be many years after this, but it's a complete year that we'll be donating $4,000 every month to help provide food, to make sure these children have the nutrients that they need, the food that they need. And being a mom myself, talking with Norm about this program, I'm like, gee, I wonder every morning, like, are my kids getting enough food before they get out the door? It stresses me out to know that, do they eat enough? Are they getting enough nutrition? They're running, they're playing sports now. And then there's children that don't even have access to food when they get home. And so it breaks our heart. And we thought, we have to be a part of this program. So we're thrilled to be a part of this. We thank you guys for allowing us to be a part of it. And we're excited to start this month. Actually, November is our first month with you guys. So thank you again. And thank you to Norm for all your help. I greatly appreciate it. And always has been a resource of knowledge for us. And we're excited. So thank you all.
Thank you. No, thank you for me. Thank you to WNL, the dealerships, to Andy, to Megan. They're going to be sponsoring the Panther Pantry for the next 12 months. And Ashley has been an integral part of this. I want to thank her for, kind of stewarding Megan and I through this process of how best to help the school district. So now we don't have, it'll be no surprise to you that I ran into Mary DeLong at Wise Markets with her arms full of peanut butter. And I said, what are you doing? You and Tony can't eat that much peanut butter. And she said, they need it for Panther packs. Peanut butter is an easy thing to eat. And lo and behold, when we look at the invoices, peanut butter is the most expensive item there. So, it's WNL now that we can kind of have some peace of mind that nobody in our district that takes advantage of this program, which is 1 out of 5 of our kids, will have to worry about, how they're funding that. So I want to give Megan and Andy and WNL all the kudos in the world for seeing that need.
I just think it's, from our team, it's incredible. It's almost $50,000 donation from WNL for our kids. Simply said, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, well, on to the business.
Mr. Ranch, you get to follow that.
The fun is over. We're going to have a presentation on K through 12 data review, chapter 339. Okay.
Well, exactly. If there's anything to follow up, student recognition and presentations and $50,000 donation, it's an audit report. So buckle up. All right. So I'm here. I'm going to go up here. Is that all right? Can I do this? All right. So I want to talk a little bit about, I mentioned a little bit about this to the board, but last month, or actually end of September, our career and technical education programs went through what's called a 339 review. Better way to put that is basically it's a career and technical education audit. And it's a cyclical process. Every 5 years, basically every 5 years, the pandemic threw a little bit of a wrench into that. I think it's actually been 6 years since our last one. But it's a cyclical process where representatives from the Department of Education, as well as other career and technical education centers, sometimes it's retired directors, current directors, come on site and do just a thorough review, a thorough audit of all of your career and technical education processes, policies, procedures, and kind of everything in between. Different items. At the end of the day, there's 24 total major items that they look for, and within those items or those topics, there's 93 sub-items. And for every single one of those represented, there needs to be a piece of documentation that shows that you are adhering to those areas for every single one of your programs. So each one of our programs has to put together a digital binder, if you will, that shows documentation for all of those different areas to make sure that we're compliant. And you're talking curriculum and academic standards, our occupational and local advisory committee meetings, policies, procedures, safety guidelines, equipment that we use, student organization involvement, special population support, budget information, accountability standards, and kind of everything in between. So we went through that over the course of 3 days, September 26th through the 28th. And really what I would just want to do, we can go to the next slide there, Dwayne. I want to go over just two basic areas to summarize everything up. So again, they took 3 days, went through with a fine tooth comb all of our 7 programs, as well as kind of an administrative overview. And they came out with a list of accommodations as well as some corrective actions. So I'm going to start off with the good stuff first. Commendations, our commitment to our Skills USA. You hear us talk a lot about Skills USA. It's one of our overarching clubs in career and technical education. The number of students that we have involved, our community service, Treats on the Track is a great example of our Skills USA community involvement. And then also our involvement in regional, local, and statewide competition. So that was a commendation of how well we do with that. Criminal justice and police science was the one that they kind of stood out last year in the spring. Our NOCTI, every single kid that took the criminal justice NOCTI scored advanced. And by and large, we had 85% of our students that took the NOCTI passed the NOCTI. So we're really happy with that. We've seen a pretty good steady incline in our NOCTI scores. And the biggest piece with that to me is not just the fact that we're seeing that steady climb in terms of how well we're doing, but we're also increasing the number of kids that are taking it every single year. This year we had 74 kids take the pre-NOCTI, which is a good judgment as to how many will take it at the end of the year. That's darn near half of our senior class is enrolled and completing a CTE program and taking the NOCTI, and we're on pace for 85% of them to pass it, hopefully even more. So very happy with our performance there. And that was the next one. Sorry, next slide there, Dwayne. Thank you. The work, our simulated work experience that described through all of our programs, that's everything from the live work that our students are doing in the automotive technology program. That's the work that our students are doing downtown with the time organization through construction trades. That is the internships and co-ops that our early childhood students are doing at local daycares in our elementary schools, and kind of everything in between. They commended us on what we're doing to make sure that these CTE students are getting real world experience. Our administration and cooperative education coordinator commended for the clinics that we do. So one thing that we started this past year is that if a student is going to be enrolling in a career and technical education program the following year, we have kind of a team meeting towards the end of the school year with the teacher, the CTE teacher that the student's going to have the next year, the student, the parents, case managers, administration. Basically everybody sits down at a table and has a meeting to just talk about what the expectations of the program are going to be, what the next 3, 2, 1 years are going to look like within the program, certifications you can get, articulation agreements, college credits, and everything in between. So that's something that we just started this past year to get more parental involvement in the CTE enrollment process. And then we got a lot of good marks for our cooperative education coordinator, Miss Smith, that was up here earlier. Basically just a lot of feathers in her cap for just how much of an outstanding job she is doing in our co-op and diversified occupations program. There is a lot of moving parts to that position. She has to have great partnerships with tons of businesses and industries. She's collecting clearances. She's going on site visits. She's doing interviews. She's working with the students on job skills. Just again, a lot of moving parts and a ton of organization. And they gave her a lot of good marks for just how well she's doing in that program so early in the program. We're only in our 3rd year of it. So a lot of good marks, and overall the report was very positive. I do want to talk about some of the areas that they want to see us improve upon, because a lot of them I think are worthwhile for us to be looking at, not only as programs, but as a district as a whole. The first one, basically just through our curriculum documents, they want to see us do a more comprehensive job of crosswalking not only the skills that the students are learning in the CTE program specific to the program, but also how we're integrating English content, math content, science content. It's things that are naturally happening in these programs, but they want to see more detail in our curriculum documents showing how we crosswalk that. So as a department, that's something we're going to make happen. Automotive technology, that's just simply kind of a clerical one. Every single year, we have to get 2 letters of support from local businesses and industries that show that they support us having that program, that it's still something that is applicable, that it is getting students ready to go out into the field. We just need to make sure that we're keeping up to date with those letters. Criminal justice got one. This is administrative end. We have articulation agreements with all of our programs. And what that is an agreement between us and a post-secondary institution. There's a lot of them. And what it says is if our student completes a program here at Melton and they go to that post-secondary institution that we have an agreement with, they will automatically get X number of credits when they go there. So for instance, if you complete our automotive technology program and you go to Penn College for diesel technology, you automatically have 12 credits under your belt before you even walk in the door at Penn College. That's an articulation agreement. We have a bunch of those with all of our programs. And a new thing that just started at PDE is we have to update every one of those every single year. So we have to review it. The post-secondary institution has to review it. We have to get signatures, including superintendent and board signatures. We have to get it approved by you guys and then also approved by the university. We used to just do that on a cyclical basis. If something changed in the agreement, then we would update it. Now we have to do it every single year. We have over 20 articulation agreements, so that's something that we need to stay on top of. One of those was not updated. That's why it was a corrective action. So we'll do a better job at that. This next one, this is one of the bigger ones, and I just want to take a minute to explain what it is. They want to see a more concrete admissions policy. So right now, we use our school's admission, our board policy as our admission policy, right? We're a comprehensive high school. So we're not a CTC center that is just accepting students for career and tech ed. We are a school district. We're accepting all of our students, regardless of their status in career and tech ed or not. So our admission policy basically just talks about, compulsory education, when they can enroll in kindergarten, how long they have to be in school. It doesn't mention career and technical education. The corrective action from the state is saying that we need to have something specific for admission in our career and technical education program. And what that means is they want to know, is it limited or unlimited? So they're saying if 100 kids sign up for construction trades, do they all get to take it? Or do only a certain amount get to take it? Well, in our world, only a certain amount get to take it. So we are going to have to create a policy, admissions policy, that shows that we have limited enrollment. It cannot be unlimited. And then we have to have different criteria for how we're going to allow students into our programs. Somehow, some way, over my almost 9 years in this position at this point, we have not faced this issue at this point. But as we continue to see these programs grow, I'm afraid we are going to run into this point where the fact that you cannot have 30 kids in a construction trades lab at the same time. It is not safe. So over the course of this year, through work with our occupational advisory committees and their recommendations, through work with my CTE faculty and instructors, through work with, we have a policy committee within the district that looks at our policies. Through all 3 of those areas, we are going to establish a policy and then present it to you at some point before the end of this school year, to try to move forward with having something concrete in place. It's going to be a tough thing because, if a student wants to get into one of those programs, I don't want to deny anybody entry. But I know that we do need to be realistic with how many students can be in some of these programs. So we have to come up with a policy, and that's what that is. The next one is more just, again, a clerical thing. All of our equipment is up to par in terms of safety standards, industry standards. It covers everything. They just want to see our documentation be a little bit more detailed as to how specific each piece of equipment is up to industry and safety standards. We used a little bit more broad descriptions. They want to see more detail. So we'll clean that up. And then next slide here, Dwayne. We do a follow-up survey or an end-of-year exit survey every year for all of our career and tech ed students, regardless of what level they're in. One thing that they noted that they would like to see added into that survey is a very specific question to our students. How is this program preparing you for life after Melton in this career pathway. We didn't have anything that explicitly asked them that. They would like to see us explicitly ask them that. So we'll include that in our end of year survey moving forward. And then this last one, it's different, but to me, it's basically the same as the admissions policy. They want to see documentation that is specific to us indicating enrollment in automotive technology and construction trades in terms of the number of kids that can be in there at one time for safety purposes. So we need to come up with that number collectively and have that in policy. And then one more slide, Dwayne. Again, it's another one. They're all kind of grouped together. Again, it talks about a cap on those classrooms and what is a safe limit based off the number of workstations available. And then the very last one is just make sure that all of our evidence in the CAT system, which is a state system where we submit all of our information for each program to make sure that it is kind of on par, on the level with all of the requirements at the state. We need to make sure all that information is up to date. The big piece of that one, the reason they had to put it in this year, as you know, we had a long search for an agriculture teacher, which we finally settled on. But because of that, we didn't have a instructor in CATS for that program, which we have easily fixed, and that one will be fine. So that is all of our corrective actions. By and large, I was extremely happy with it. Not only the commendations, but to me, those corrective actions are either really easy fixes or they're good things for us that we need to look into and have some good policies and procedures in place moving forward. So it's going to be some good action items for us to take care of through the rest of this year. That's everything I have for you this evening. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. I'll just say to the board, I got a chance at the end of this to sit in. They bring the superintendent in at the end, and to Andrew's credit, team's credit, to this board's credit, you could see that while they are responsible for giving us corrective action, how pleased they were with what we were offering. It was evident in all three of the individuals that were sitting there. They knew they had a job to do, but they were very glowing about all the work that's been done here, and that we are one of the few comprehensive schools. So kudos to everyone that's been involved in that for many years. All right.
We're ready to move into K-5 realignment special education.
So what we are going to start with is we know that one of the most important topics we're going to discuss tonight is the vote on realignment of our schools. With that said, in a few minutes, I will do a quick review of what we reviewed with parents, but I think one of the hot topics that was brought up that we want to make sure is clearly identified is some of our special education projections and numbers. Mrs. Harris, I'm gonna have our team, the elementary team, stay, just make sure the microphones, since we might all be talking at one time, rather than all standing at the microphone. But I'm gonna have Mrs. Harris start off, kind of explaining where we are. I know the board does have the pack in front of you because it's a lot of small numbers. But she will give an overview and an explanation, and we will have that discussion and lead into any and everything we need to talk about regarding realignment to prepare for the vote later.
Gentlemen, if you have anything to add, please do. So the first slide that you see here is the maximum caseloads by the state. This is what the state says is the top number that any of our teachers can have on their caseload. As we go through this process, you're going to see our numbers are way below that top process. And the reason, there's a couple reasons for it. First of all, it's a lot. Some of those numbers you're looking at, and you're looking, speech could have 65 people on their caseload. I think if I gave Mrs. Platt 65 kids, she might leave me, and I don't want that to happen. It's the same thing with some of the other numbers. They're just super high, kind of not really realistic when you're actually working with the students and trying to get the outcomes that we're looking for here at Melton. So go ahead and switch to the next one, Dwayne. So this is current elementary data that we have now. This shows how many students are in each grade per their disability category. The highest numbers at Bacher are in our speech, basically at the second grade level, which is not surprising because that's typically when we're really starting to get them into school and knowing like how much of it was they just didn't know anything coming into kindergarten and those kind of things. And the one at White Deer is fifth grade learning support. is the highest one. That doesn't surprise me because all of our fifth graders are now at one building. So it's not like they're split between Bacher and White Deer.
Just for clarity for general public, AS is autistic support, ES is emotional support, LS is learning support, LSS is life skill support, and then speech.
Thank you. So the next one talks about our caseload data by teachers. You can just see I numbered them, teacher 1, 2, 3 at each building, just to show you what the numbers are this year as far as our caseloads. Our highest speech caseload is our highest is 30, which is half of what they say statewide we can have. Our highest other caseload is learning support at our middle school, I'm pretty sure. I don't think our high school has any. No, learning support at our middle school. One teacher has 18 kids on that caseload at this point. But you can see, I mean, you guys can see it better on your copies that are printed bigger. You can go ahead to the next slide, Joanie. So as we're trying to estimate the data, it's a little difficult to do. What I did was took what we know. We know the students we have now, so I put them up into the classes that they will be in. What we don't know is the number of students. We probably have about a dozen who are currently under evaluation, so they will have to fit in there somewhere. The other outlier that's always a big outlier we don't know is our early intervention numbers. For instance, the 1 year our autistic support brought 6 kindergarten kids in autistic support. The highest case you can have in autistic support is 8. That's a whole teacher. You know, 6 kindergarten autistic support kids is a teacher, and she does a great job. So that's the estimated data for student numbers at that point. We'll update that as we get it. Next slide talks about caseloads for that next year. And again, I just kind of projected out what that looks like with what we have. Teachers, we still need the same number of teachers. You'll see that here in a slide or two. They may be moved building-wide just to accommodate what we need in each building. That's something that as a leadership team we're going to work on together if this goes through tonight and we decide that we are realigning. Paraprofessionals, that's always a really difficult one because as we've talked 1,000 times, we have plenty of open positions. So what we do is we look at where are our neediest students, where is the need the greatest. Our autistic support classrooms are some, our behavior classrooms are some, our life skills and MDS classes. So they're obviously going to get that support before a learning support teacher or someone like that. So we just have to look once the kids are all in and we know what classifications they're under and things like that, then we decide where paraprofessionals will go. And the next slide just talks about those anticipated classroom needs that we might have. Pretty much they're the same as what they are this year. The difference really though is that in each building there will be at least one of each category classroom. So for example, right now White Deer has 2 life skills classrooms and Bacher has none. That won't be the same next year if we go with the realignment. Each building will have at least one of each classroom. Projection-wise, Bacher is going to still need to have 2 autistic support classes just based on numbers and things like that. There's a possibility that at White Deer, I can combine a life skills and an autistic support teacher. We did that this year. It has worked out fine. But those are all things that I can't make a decision on until we have those final numbers that come in from early intervention. Questions that I can answer for anybody on this or anything you guys want to add?
So for that last slide that you just talked about with the teachers and what's going to be anticipated for the need, by not knowing if we do decide to reconfigure, we could potentially be adding more staff, like we'd have to look to hire more.
I don't anticipate having to hire anybody. I think the numbers will even out kind of like they did this year with adding the autistic support and the life skills support together. I do not anticipate having to hire any teachers next year because of the realignment.
So, and I'll jump in there. I think through projections, through caseloads, we could possibly say that we could reduce. What I would argue on that I think we need to look at is, although we are well below, and I think when we talk as a board about the fact that we can't hire paras, the one thing when you can look at numbers, see concretely, is at least we're attempting for our teachers to keep numbers low. I would continue to argue, even if we show a projection through realignment that we could go down a teacher, we want to be very creative in how do we, because we can't get paras, continue to support in a better way. I think we have looked at this close enough that realignment does not cause addition in special education. Now, 15 kids come in and have different diagnoses and all those kind of things that we need to look at. That at any point could challenge us, wouldn't matter where kids are. I absolutely like that we have all students, no matter what their disability would be, what grade, like they would have those classrooms in each of the buildings. We would have autistic support in each building, life skills support, emotional support. So I like that balance. But it's a long answer to a short question, but I think, continuing to be cognizant of supporting our special ed teachers who carry a heavy lift every day.
Will any of the teachers travel back and forth between the two buildings?
That's a good question.
I not like a learning support or a life skills support. The only way that could possibly happen would be if we would have a huge growth in speech numbers somewhere, like that one of those teachers may have to travel. But as far as like my disability category besides speech, no, I don't see any traveling. Social work would potentially travel. What else am I missing? I think that's it. That's all that travels now. Social work.
They travel now.
Social work travels now.
And then when you talked about the estimated data, you said about the kids that were currently under evaluation. Are those the kids that would be like the permission to evaluate type of kids, or are there like multiple areas that we're looking at potential evaluations?
So currently under evaluation, so we have the permission to evaluate out to the parents, whether they've come back yet or are out waiting to be signed. We have about a dozen of them at the elementary level that we are looking at what might they need. Now, not all of them will qualify. And some of them, for instance, we just did an eval on 2 students who are at a private Christian school. The one qualified, but the parent is not bringing them back to us, so it doesn't really do anything to our numbers. We're just required to do the evaluation for that. So I don't anticipate like a huge jump. I mean, this is typical for each year that we, elementary is, by the time they hit 2nd, 3rd grade, that's when we're seeing the issue. That's when the evals are kind of starting to take place more. Any other questions?
Okay, so we can talk special ed numbers as well as we move forward here. I'm going to ask Mr. Gemmerling to put up the presentation we presented October 10th, I believe it was. Just quick overview. So just a reminder to everyone in attendance, as we look at what we're talking about with realignment, I'll go fast through this. What we have presented during our board meetings, we presented last spring to the public in the auditorium. We also just recently did a presentation to our public in the Lit Cafe. We had about 30 people, let's say, about attending. So where we are at, just to give a quick overview, if you scroll through this, Mr. Gemmerling, go ahead. We talked about benefits of why we believe elementary reconfiguration works. We looked at why we think K-3 at Bodker is the best way to go about this. We also, Mr. Stetler did discuss some of the benefits of why we want an intermediate atmosphere at White Deer. We talked about culture. Again, direct focus on, we believe this is Milton Area School District. We want all of our students to experience Bodker Elementary School, White Deer Elementary School before coming to the middle school, coming together. We went through what it might look like in our establishment of rooms in both buildings. This was shared, in detail, especially with the group of parents that were in attendance. And then a major piece of this was Mr. Tull explaining about transportation, what he has learned from this year, and how that will, anticipate, into next year. So a lot of thought, a lot of planning. What I will share with the board is I thought we had a very nice meeting with parents. We had some great questions, some great insight. I will continue to state, I recognize that one of the most difficult pieces of any type of realignment is that emotional connection. But my belief in this, and I think our team can share that, is we are looking at creating this for K-3 at Bacher, 4 and 5 at White Deer, that it is one culture, it is Milton, that we see that being an environment our teachers, our staff can create for our students, no matter the building. I am going to, I would like, Mr. Stetler, if you don't mind, I think you've had some great conversations this week. I know Dr. Schlosser, you had a good conversation with Mr. Stetler, to share what I want now. I think that is important as we go to do this is what other information from a board do we need to discuss, and we can have our team do that. I will also tell anybody in the public, we will have a comments from visitors here in a second, or in a few minutes, where you'll be able to comment before any votes. So we would welcome any of those comments. This is a community decision. It is important for the future of our schools, and we want to make sure we've addressed any questions before we vote. So Mr. Stetler, I'm going to turn to you for some additional insight on 4 and 5 at White Deer. We'll go from there.
Thank you, Dr. Beckhart. As I shared last month, and I've shared throughout our conversations around this topic of realignment, academically, this provides a really exciting opportunity for our students and our teachers. We would be able, in a realigned world, to approach teaching and learning in a way that just is not possible when we have 2 teachers of a grade level in one building and 5 in another. We have learned a lot of great lessons at White Deer Elementary School over the last year and a quarter of having all of 5th grade together, lessons that, we've even continued throughout this year. We started with allowing our 5th grade students to transfer through their academic courses throughout the day this year, and quickly learned that having one math teacher, one English teacher, one science social studies teacher looks great on paper, but it's a logistical nightmare for that teacher who's now grading 80 essays while their colleagues have significantly less work. So we've continued to evolve our processes, and we've looked at making ways for that workload balance to benefit students and our staff, even in the 23-24 school year. Those conversations led to an even more exciting conversation about what 24-25 could look like in a realigned world, where students have their assigned homeroom like they do right now, but we can use flexible learning groups throughout our day to meet every single student where they're at. So I might be a student in Mrs. Lily's homeroom, and I might be a really gifted English student, and I might stay with Mrs. Lily for English class. I'm getting the 5th grade content, but I'm getting the 5th grade content at maybe a faster rate or a deeper understanding than what another class might receive. I was a struggling math student. I might go to Mr. Marshall's class for math, with students who also need to take it a little bit slower in math, have those concepts unpacked a little bit more deeply before moving on. Our students are still going to receive the 4th and 5th grade curriculum. We're not denying any student access to the curriculum, but what we're allowing is our teachers, who are professional and very talented at what they do, to be able to teach to the students that are in front of them. It's very difficult when you have students that need enrichment, students that need significant remediation, and we have students right in the middle. How do you service all 27 of those kids at once with very different needs? Our teachers take a stab at that every single day, and they do a tremendous job, but we can do better. And a world of realignment and the scheduling possibility that I just described to you is a way that we can do better. We could really see some positive student growth. It's research-based. Along with that, I've talked to you about the Leader in Me curriculum and some exciting opportunities in 4th and 5th grade specifically to build character education into our curriculum, along with the idea that we're one community and we have pride, characteristics of service, leadership, kindness, things that we're going to see not only in our school building, but hopefully we'll see matriculate into our community post-graduation as well. So I just urge you from the academic standpoint that realignment really opens a lot of doors for our students and our community as a whole. And I really hope you consider that in your vote this evening.
So with that, I think I'll open it to the board. Questions, comments that we need to address so you have all the information you need. Or maybe we've done that.
What collective feedback have you had from your teachers?
So I was talking to my 5th grade teachers a few months ago, and we were talking about the 24-25 school year. And I had to pause them and I was like, time out until we have a board vote on realignment. Like there are 5 of you that might return to Bacher Elementary School next year. And you could just feel the air in the room get sucked out at that idea. After having over a year of collaboration at that point, those 6 teachers cannot imagine going back to working in 2 different physical plants, almost back to silos, only having that one day every 6 days to collaborate in a meaningful way. Our teachers, and Melissa Lily's here, and I would be more than happy for her to share what her personal experiences look like in realignment, not to put you on the spot, Melissa. But from our professional staff and from our students, I have not heard a desire to not move forward with realignment.
Thank you. That's important. Bring them up.
I'm going.
I hear a voice. I just don't see it. Stand up, Melissa.
I'm here for questioning.
Okay.
No, I just think it makes sense for us. We collaborate. Oh my. Supposed to be grading papers right now. It's been nice. I'm not the island anymore. We're all together. We're more on the same page. We're doing the same things. If I need to troubleshoot, I just have to go to Bethany. I get answers. There's more support. We work smarter, not harder. Can I end there?
That's great.
That was pretty good. That was nice, right?
But we have to be realistic. I will not sit here and look at all 9 of you and say, absolutely, every person, everyone says this is the best idea in the whole world. There are always going to be, dissenting opinions. But I wholeheartedly believe that our team has spent the time, has talked to our teachers, has asked for input, has asked for that. And I think they all understand the educational value. They all respect the emotional issue that comes with it, but they understand that we believe, and that's our jobs, that we can do more for our students. We can create better instructional practices, better instructional means for our kids.
And if I may add, I did have the privilege over parent-teacher conferences, 2 of my favorite days of the school year, to sit through about 72 parent-teacher conferences, 37 of which were at the 5th grade level. And there were very few of those meetings that I did not leave where parents did not offer feedback that they maybe weren't sure about realignment, but they've come to really enjoy their students having a White Deer experience and that their kids love being at White Deer and they love switching classrooms. I would say of those approximately 37 conferences, at least 30 of them, I heard some variation of that theme from our parents.
Just want to add, looking at what's happening in our world today and how schools are reconfiguring, looking at primary buildings being built, intermediate buildings being built. The elementary building of a K-5 building is not something that you're seeing as we move through this. And a benefit that we talked about on the slides and that we shared with the community members, a lot of teachers did come to the meetings as well to be part of that, to support it, to ask questions and have those questions answered. But in that process, at a K3 building, K2 building, K3 building, we're able to hone in on building those foundational skills. What Mrs. Lilly said, what our teachers say, we have PLCs once every 6 days where they're able to get together. This would afford them the opportunity to collaborate. We want to make it something that teachers are able to do and it's beneficial for them, but ultimately this is good for kids. It's something that they're going to benefit from, the opportunities that they're going to have. Mr. Stetler talked about enrichment and remediation. Those students that are struggling will have those supports, the early interventions that we so need. You can build on the skills, but those foundational skills that they need to establish early on in kindergarten, 1st grade are the most crucial
moments of a child's life to be able to help them read and write and be successful academically. So having a reconfiguration, it's not abandoning interventions at a 4-5 building, but you're able to put the supports where they're needed to build those skills. So as they move up to the grade levels, they're able to have the needed skills to be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Slater.
So if I could just ask, you said there were some people that had concerns. What were some of those concerns?
So I think it's a great lead into one of the things we're going to have to reference. Mrs. Harris did a nice job there of having teacher 1, teacher 2, teacher 3. That will be a challenge ahead of us when we look at teachers that are at White Deer, teachers that are at Bacher, that emotional tie from that piece of it all to, I've been at this building, I want to stay at this building, or I'm ready to go. I think we're going to have that challenge of looking at that balance. One of the things we've already discussed that we're going to put in place, we did it last year in general across the district, which was a survey of need, of interest, of where to go, what grade levels. We will do that again. We will ask our teachers that idea of, are you comfortable at your grade level? Are you comfortable at your building? What is important to you? And we will do our best. There is no perfect scenario to giving everybody what they wish, but we're going to listen and try and gather that information. And if we can make some shifts that meet the needs of our teachers, we will absolutely do that. So I come back to a lot of emotional tie to our buildings, and that's good. We want that. But again, it's about community. It's about Milton being one community and incorporating both buildings. So I have not had a lot when it comes, I don't think I've had anything that is instructional, that is academic. I think we all see that benefit.
Thank you.
So with that being said, is it irresponsible of us to not have that type of survey go out before we do this vote to see where our teachers stand with the teacher shortage that's out there? We don't want to lose anybody over something like this. So should we have had those questions and answers before we make this vote?
I will let any other administrators comment on this. I would say we've done enough. I think we have an idea of where people stand, but I don't think that should hold us up, because I do believe they understand the academic side of it all, and that I think we can meet the general needs of this. I don't think it's going to be that possible to meet that need. I don't. Again, I'm not gonna. I think we have to be cautious on not. You're gonna have a percentage of people that may or may not like something, but that could be with any decision. We might have the same on the other side of that too. We don't. So here's a reality piece, whether we like it or not. As a board, we are tasked with creating a budget in the future, every year, moving forward. I can assure you that in order to meet budget needs for dealing with attrition of teachers, and we want to make decisions based on keeping great class size for our students, realignment is a better way of getting us there, where we're not. I would worry at White Deer down the road that the joy of 2 classes of 15 could become, oh boy, now what do we do? Right? Is it really 1 class of 30? Are we telling parents you're coming over to Bacher anyway because of that? I could see us being in that position when you have teacher shortage, when you have attrition and you're looking at budget cuts. And I know we presented that last year as part of that we're looking at any kind of cut in a teacher would be through attrition, through an analysis of our class sizes and what we're doing, and not just an arbitrary, we're removing a teacher. Class size matters. It absolutely does. We need to continue to look at that and do our best with it, but we're going to be tasked with the challenge going forward. It just positions us in a better spot to make those decisions, I believe. Thank you.
I'd also add, if you would ask me about this last year, I would have said absolutely not. No way. There's no way we can do realignment. And my biggest concern at that point was transportation, which Derek obviously knows because I've asked him about it at least 1 million times this year, and Darren as well.
You pull the microphone
yes,
closer. Thank
you. I know I'm soft-spoken to begin with. But that's something that they took on head on to address. I have no concerns with transportation. They've really made great strides this year. The bus times for Montana have really been reduced. My White Deer kid is actually getting home sooner than my Bacher kiddo right now. So it's pretty extraordinary. With adding that extra bus was a huge, huge difference this year. I'm not getting the outreach from parents that I did last year at all on that end. My concern too was, going to another new school. I think one of the benefits of with the renovation here and the hold up and having to move kids to White Deer was we kind of got a trial run, which often, usually doesn't happen. And I think last year, we had some bumps because it was new and we're still evolving and learning. I would have never believed it myself had I'm not experiencing it with my own fifth grader and seeing her develop and blossom at this school. And it's just something I'd like to see every child in our district have an opportunity to experience the magic of White Deer as well. And I'm also a person that gets definitely attached to buildings, as y'all know. We've been at Montana, now we're at Bacher, and we're at White Deer. So each one, held a special different type of magic to it that allowed our children to grow and really blossom from there. So I'm really excited to hear, we might be able to target, where the child is at and work with them from there. I think our teachers already do a fantastic job. I was hesitant to go to White Deer because I thought, oh no, another change. I hate change. How's my child going to react to this change? And she absolutely loves it. As far as, I drop my kiddos off in the morning, round trip, I'm looking at 35 minutes from Montandon. And that's if there's a backup at, if I'm super late getting there for drop off, because I drop off at White Deer first. It's just a lovely school. And I think all our kids should get an opportunity to experience it. I think it's something, I'm going to say magical again, but it really is. It gives us an opportunity to really set them up for that middle school experience and put them in a good position to move forward. So I'm excited to see what it could bring next year as well.
Thank you, Lindsay.
So my daughter's one that's coming to White Deer, and she would like to know if there's a Gaga ball pit.
There's definitely a Gaga ball pit. And honestly, I'll just speak really quickly, piggybacking off of everything. I think relationships are hugely important to me, and I think we've done a really good job putting teachers and students together that are great pairs. And I keep coming back to the fact that we all heard Melissa Lilly in the back corner talk, and she's funny and smart. And you might think, man, I really want my kid to have her. And if your kid lives on Front Street, like you're not going to have that opportunity. This opens it up, and I think for me, the opportunity to line up kids with teachers, like including your own, who we know really well, and we want our kids to be in the best possible spot. This just lets us do that, and we've worked really hard as a team, our guidance counselors as well, to like really match that up. And I think the other thing I want to say is, like just along these same lines, is that, oh my gosh, and I just lost my thought. And that maybe that's okay. But like I do want you guys to understand as a board, like this gives us the ability to put our kids in the best possible position with the best possible adults that match their personality, learning styles, and things like that. And that's what we're really, that's what I'm excited about, because that's something that we've worked really hard on. Oh, that was what I wanted to say. I looked at Mr. Scoggins. I remembered there's a lot of problems that there's a lot of problems that Mr. Scoggins has to address in sixth grade that we're now able to address when they're in fourth grade and fifth grade. And so that transition into the middle level as sixth graders is going to be much more seamless. There you go. Yeah, not a problem.
Conversation.
Zoe, Violet, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Any thoughts from two of our students?
I think from a student perspective when I was going into sixth grade, from fifth grade to sixth grade, I was at Bacher from kindergarten through fifth grade. It was a big change. So I think that having the change earlier from a third grader into a fourth grade at a new school, it would be less of a detrimental change at an older age.
I mean, I kind of have a unique experience with that because I actually, when I was in elementary school, I had moved for my fifth grade year, and that was a big change, especially at such a young age. But it did almost make going to middle school a little bit easier because I came back here, and I think that change is something that is really important. And
is something that's harder to deal with in young kids, and I think implementing it younger might help children get over it emotionally. Not only make like the actual environment change easier, but like the mental change of, okay, we're changing, we're getting older. It might make it a little bit easier for them.
Thank you both.
Perspective. Sit on that for a minute while we
Yep.
talk about athletics and
Oh yeah.
girls wrestling.
So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Harris here. As you all know, we had girls wrestling and swimming on there when we were discussing this prior. Good news, you can see in the agenda. All going well. We will hire a swimming coach tonight, and we are working with the Milton YMCA right now to iron out details of practices being there. But so, Mr. Harris, I'll turn it to you. Do you want to add anything to that? And then I'll let you talk a little bit about where we are with girls wrestling, just to give that overview.
Microphone. Microphone.
The swimming situation has worked itself out. We've found a coach, hopefully here, pending board approval coming soon. So we are not in the situation we were in with the major transportation costs of trying to get all of our students up to Hughesville just for practices and things like that. And I'm working with Ron Marshall and the YMCA to figure out practice availability at the Milton YMCA pool. And we'll be having further information on that coming forward. Girls wrestling, Dwayne, if you could put up that PowerPoint for me, please. Okay, well, I will just talk about some. What's that?
I think the board has it in front of you.
Okay, I will just talk about some of the points real quick. As you are aware, PIAA has approved girls wrestling as an official sport. When we approved it 2 years ago, I believe now, we were the 18th school in Pennsylvania to actually have girls wrestling as an official high school sport. And since then, we were pushing 150 schools that now have girls wrestling as a sport. We are talking about it as the PHAC League as to whether we generate an official league schedule for girls wrestling. So it is growing rapidly, and it's one of the fastest growing sports across the state. Well, maybe you don't have in your packet, but if you do, the MOU is needed to add a paid girls head coach, which I think we'll be discussing here very shortly. The paid head coach would be responsible for all 7th through 12th grade female wrestlers. They will work alongside with our boys coaching staff. They will also practice at the same time in one of our 2 wrestling rooms that we currently have in the new addition. Potential athletes for wrestling this year, we have 7 junior high girls that have signed up and 6 varsity girls. And I know there are several other girls that have interest in what that looks like and what it could be moving forward. And the last part of that is just we showed our expenses. There it is up there. Yeah. So we showed our expenses from last year before it was an official sport through the PIAA. We basically just traveled independently to individual tournaments that we used the school van for transportation to get our students to that a coach drove. And then if you move on to the last slide, the head coach would fall in group 1 of Appendix B and extracurricular and athletic salaries. And then we also have opportunities for the capital campaign donation to get us kicked off with that salary.
Yeah, so, and I think the piece of that puzzle is while the capital campaign donation cannot directly be aligned to the salary, what we can look at is offsetting other costs, what we would purchase for the program, balancing the other pieces. So there is money in the capital campaign that allows us to help get this off the ground, earmarked for this. So I think that's important. The big thing tonight is we have the MOU in your packet. That is what needs to happen next. If you approve that MOU, we will begin immediately tomorrow with posting the position with the intention of hopefully putting that on the agenda for December 5th when we're here for our realignment.
Rod, will they still do a lot of work with the boys team?
Yes, they will still work with the boys team.
Why do we need to put it under group 1 of the salary matrix?
I think for Title IX reasons, so we don't have a difference between a girls' head coach and a boys' head coach in salary
Exactly. Yeah.
with the same sport.
I mean, I can review what we did last year. Last year we wrestled basically as a tournament team, and those expenses you saw there, that was for entry fees into local tournaments and also the fuel to get there. I sat down with Josh Hunchball. We just kind of winged it, put together a tournament schedule for girls only tournaments, and I took the varsity girls and also junior high girl when applicable along to these tournaments. Safety reasons, I grabbed another coach. We went, but it was totally voluntary. And even last year, I could see the need for a girls program coordinator and head coach because other schools had that. And Hughesville came in with 30 some kids, and it's a fast growing sport. And if somebody really puts the time into it, I can sit down as a paid position and really work through this. I mean, I could see us have huge numbers. Every day we're at practice, there's kids walking down the hallway, poking their head in the mat room. Having the new mat room with everything upstairs really helps. It's a kind of a sport that recruits itself. And every day there's girls asking questions. I'm still going to be around the program this year helping, but we need somebody that can dedicate the time, that gets paid to do it, to really put into this because it's a female empowerment mechanism. We had girls last year that came out of their shell. They learned self-defense techniques. They walk around with a chip on their shoulder now. They're tough cookies. So any other questions, feel free to ask me. I'll do my best.
Do we have assistant coaches for boys wrestling?
Yes, we do.
So that's not a Title IX violation to not have assistant coaches for
I
girls.
don't think at this time because we're just getting started with the program, but that may be something we need to look forward to in the future pending numbers.
And that'd
And
be
that,
true with
that is a discussion we had.
Be true with the salary position though too.
I'm sorry.
That'd be true with the salary position as
Correct.
I understand the Title IX requirements for that type of thing, but just at face value, I'm not in support of putting it in Group 1. That's what we have to do for legal reasons, but that's more than your band director who works year round for 7 kids, essentially 20 kids. Not fair.
Other questions? Okay, so the vote will come up for that here in a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay, at this time, we will ask for comments from visitors. Any comment related to the board agenda item?
I've received one online if you'd like me to
Please.
share from the
Sure.
night. This comes from Rochelle Brocious. As a parent of a current first grader in Bacher with another child who will be in kindergarten next year, I am so excited about the possibility of realignment. As a Milton alumni, I have personally seen how different elementary schools have caused some division once all the students are brought together. Back when I was attending, it was Milton Elementary versus White Deer versus Montandon. I hope by realigning, we can get these kiddos together sooner so they are able to form bonds with everyone from day one. I hope the school board answers with a resounding yes.
Thank you. Anyone present? Okay, please come forward. You wanna? Yeah, we need. It's a big room. Thank you.
I'm Jen Rue. I'm a reading specialist. Disadvantage.
We'll get there.
Okay. I'm a reading specialist here at Bacher Elementary, Jen Rue, and I am echoing what Dr. Bickar and our principals have to say about the realignment. I am in favor of it. I think, working with these young children, I think it's so valuable to catch them at an early age. Also, the unity, I think, is so important. I agree, I'm not originally from here, but when I came to work here, you could sense parents and, some administration, just some division, not intentionally, but, it's just, I think it's going to be valuable to have the unity of everyone and just, as they get older, as the student said, just being able to feel as one. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else this evening? Okay.
Chair, as a parent.
Sure.
Just as a parent of two boys in the elementary school, and as a volunteer coach for AYSO, I'm personally really excited because my boys build these relationships with their teammates, and then they don't see them because half their team goes to White Deer and half their team goes to Bacher. They grow up getting to know each other, and this kind of unity in schools I think is really fantastic. I mean, I come from Williamsport where we have 3 different middle schools, so even by the time you get to high school, you never met these people. But to have one Milton family all the way through for extracurriculars, for out of school activities, for scouts, for AYSO, for little, like everything they do, they will know this same group of kids and grow up with them from the time they're in pre-K, all the kindergarten, all the way up through high school. And I think that's extremely exciting. Not to mention the financial benefits, because I do that too.
Like both. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Sitting here for a little while thinking, is it appropriate for me to be able to speak up as a parent? If you would have asked me very similarly to Lindsay when my first child was going into kindergarten, if I wanted him to go to Bacher, I would have said no. I think at that time there were rumors of closing the school building down, and I just remember driving like in tears, sobbing at the thought that Cullen would not go to the same small building that I went to when I was in elementary school. But now, having worked in the district for 3 years and just knowing the staff, knowing Jeremy, knowing Seth, knowing Dave, knowing the teachers, it makes me very sad to think that my kids don't get to experience what Bacher also has to offer. White Deer is an amazing school, and I love all of the staff there, but there is a piece of me that appreciates just how great the Bacher staff are too. And it does make me sad that my kids will not be able to experience all of the staff that are in this other building. I do also echo what Derek said about bringing the kids together at an earlier age. I think that middle school is already such a really tough time. And myself as a White Deer kiddo, coming into middle school, knowing only such a small segment of the kids that were in my grade, I really do feel like I was at a disadvantage coming in because most of the Bacher kids already knew each other, right? And that was the majority of the population of the kids in my grade. So I just think that with middle school being such a difficult time and transition in kiddos' lives to begin with, bringing them all together earlier on and getting them acclimated, and it gives them the opportunity to meet new kids, build new relationships, foster those relationships. And it will just make that transition so much easier. I personally feel that realignment is what is best for the Reese kiddos. And I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you to those that have provided feedback. It helps. Okay. Next, we would like to have approval of the minutes. It'll be a block vote. Make a motion to approve the minutes from 5A and 5B. That's October 10th and October 17th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions or corrections? All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the executive report. We will just vote on 6A, the reconfiguration. I would like to make in a form of a motion to recommend approval for the reconfiguration of James F. Bacher Elementary School from a K-4 building to a K-3 building, and the reconfiguration of White Deer Elementary School from a K-5 building to grades 4 and 5 building, effective with the 2024-2025 school year, and to authorize the solicitor and administration to take such actions as may be necessary, desired, or required to carry out the intent of this motion and to obtain any necessary approval from the Department of Education. That was a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any questions or comments before the vote?
Just a comment, if I may. This is probably the one decision since I've been on the board that I've gone back and forth the most on, and it's been a hard one. And I just want to continue to challenge the board and the administration, focus on the transportation. That I still have great concerns about that, but please put whatever resources you need behind that to make sure that's a good experience for all of our children.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right, could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Would then like to make a block vote for 6B and 6C. I'd like to make a motion to recommend both of those items, please. It's a
Second.
motion. Okay. Did you say a second, Brett? Motion and a second. Are there any questions? Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. It's everything under executive. Can we move to Finance Committee, Mr. Frederick and Mr. Moser?
Yes, I'd like to make a recommendation in form of a motion for approval of items 7A through 7C.
It's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? We have roll call, please.
Mr. Hunt,
No.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
No.
Mr. Harris, Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Mr. Frederick? Yes. Thank you.
We forget.
Sorry. That's what happens when you show up late.
Is that all for finance this evening?
Nothing further.
All right, Facilities Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Mrs. Kessler.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for a block vote, items 8.A and 8.B.
Can I do the update on 8A?
8A is an update. Yeah.
So we're not voting on it?
No, there's nothing to vote on 8A, just an update. We just wanted to make sure, because I know these are just continue to be two topics. I wanted to share, I believe, Mrs. Kessler and Mr. Harris were able to attend the last facilities discussion. This is the update on where we are with the canopy as we move forward. Just wanted to give you the quick synopsis. We know we looked at a design. We got a cost estimate. Again, we have to go to bid to see where that comes in. Give or take, it has dropped the price, from the original about $140,000. There's always the contingency pieces of that. I know I don't need to remind the board. We started, I think, at $1 million, and we are now down to $281,000. I think we have a design we like based on the last feedback, but just wanted to give you that update. Again, the details are there about going to bid, but this was discussed at the last facilities. Any comments from either of you on it?
I mean, I love it. I love the new design. I think it's exactly what we were picturing. And it took a long road to get there, but some things are worth waiting for. And I'm so glad we are getting the canopy that Bacher desperately needs. So it's a great design, and we really saved a lot of costs. We did start at $1 million. So to get down to where we are now is incredible.
Thank you. Okay. The second thing on there is just the playground. What I will have for you on December 5th, I talked to Mr. Grimes from Play World. I want to provide you a timeline of how the playground will proceed. We didn't discuss that in the realignment, but we're about to put state-of-the-art playground out for all of our now K-3 Milton students. So that will have a timeline for on December 5th of how that will play out over the next 6 to 8 months with anticipation it's ready to go for next school year. That's the update. Thank you.
So I'd like to amend my motion just to approve items 8.B.
All right. It's a motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? We have roll call, please.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris, Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Is that all for facilities?
That's all this evening.
Athletics and Extracurricular Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Mr. Moser.
Go ahead. You wanna do it?
Okay. I'd like to make this in form of a motion for block vote items 9A through 9D.
Is that B or D?
D.
All of them.
All of
Okay. All right. So motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Same question. 9.D.1. Is there a cost to the district for that, Mr. Harris? 9D.1.
Any other questions? All right. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris, Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Is that all this evening for athletics?
Yes, that's it this evening.
Education and Technology Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Mrs. Kessler.
Thank you, Mrs. Rance. I'd like to make a motion for a block vote on items 10A through 10B.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? Could we have roll call, please?
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris, Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you. That's everything for this evening.
All right, thank you. Personnel Committee, Mr. Frederick and Dr. Weaver.
I'd like to make a motion for a block vote for items 11A through 11J.
So motion and a second. Are there any questions? All right, could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we may. Welcome and thank you for being here this evening. Welcome to Milton. Okay, Legislative and Policy Committee, Mr. Hosterman and Dr. Strasser.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for approval. Items listed 12.A through 12.C.5.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Are any questions?
Oh, just a point of clarification. This is supposed to be a policy discussion, 12.B?
So, yeah, Policy 204 is there for your reference. Thank you for that. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was a first read. It is the updated attendance. We had a very detailed conversation about this at one of our meetings. I would ask the board to really look that over. The considerations there were many thoughts about that regarding how the language would go with looking at that 10%. Mrs. Gurton, you want to add anything to that at this point? Anybody want to add? Microphone to you. Two microphones.
I thought I was just listening tonight. The attendance policy, when I talked with the board a couple of months ago, we talked about a couple of different options that provided some more flexibility to parents, took into consideration doctors' excuses, took also into consideration educational field trips. At that point, I brought a recommendation from the principals about trying to cap that level at 17. And then we had some additional conversation in our leadership meeting, and then in the policy meeting, some additional feedback from the principals. So the language that you see in there, I think is kind of like a compromise. 10 days for parents, which will not count excused days from a licensed medical professional. But it certainly is still up for conversation if anybody feels we need to revisit that language.
And I think for tonight, it's instead of doing first read, second read, we wanted to make sure you had adequate time. We're not in a rush on this. Look it over. We'll come back to the conversation as we move into the new year.
Under delegation of responsibility, it's striking the director of coordinator of education. We're putting another role in there, or would it just be the superintendent or designate?
Superintendent or designate. Thank you.
So that strike should be longer. Any other questions on policies? So we're voting on 12.A and 12.C.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yep, I have a second.
Okay, motion and a second. All right. Could we have roll call, please?
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt, Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mr. Harris, Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes. Is that everything this evening?
That is all.
Okay. CSIU 16 representative report.
All right, one of the highlights from the previous meeting is that the CSIU is a sponsor of WBRE's Children's First initiative. And that covers 4 different areas, and they are meeting other extraordinary kids. So they have Here's to You Kid, Paula's Parenting Playbook, Little Love, and Athlete of the Week. And they will continue with those and continue sponsoring the Children's First initiative through WBRE. Also, we had the opportunity to hear from Mackenzie Vassbinder, student from Mifflinburg, was a Pennsylvania Governor's School student and got to attend Carnegie Mellon and study sciences over the summer. It's kind of funny because she says, I didn't realize I was going to spend my entire summer on everything science related. But in the end, I'm glad that I did and was very thankful for the opportunity and the sponsorship to be able to attend. Again, if you have any questions regarding programs or services that the IU offers, at the webpage under the About section, you can find the various programs. Another highlight was an in-service day. Reigniting Connections was the title. So the IU and district partners provided regional educational staff with enriching professional development, and that was October 9th. 2 conference-style gatherings. One was hosted by Milton School District, working with grades K through 5 and physical education. And the keynote speaker was John Perricone, and the other was at Lewisburg High School, working with staff in grades 6 to 12, and that was Dr. Lisa Lucas as the keynote speaker. More than 50 breakout sessions held across those 2 sites. Music educators explored specialized opportunities through the EMEA in a session held at Central Susquehanna Intermediate Unit in Montana. I guess there are a total of 630 participants for that in the various breakout sessions. And we will be meeting tomorrow for the November meeting. That's all for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Weaver. All right, Secretary's correspondence, Mr. Fink.
This month, we have 2 donations to share. The first is the Milton Rotary donated dictionaries to the 3rd grade class. And Montandan Baptist Church donated $200 and personal care products to Panther Pantry. And I'm very much so looking forward to next month when we get to add the W&L Subaru donation. So that's a very exciting donation. That's everything for me this evening.
All right. A motion to accept donations voted by Mr. Fink.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Superintendent's report, Dr. Bickhart.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Rance. It goes without saying, I think tonight is a remarkable night in the history of Milton School District. I thank the board for their support. I thank our team of teachers and leaders. I think we made a great decision for our district tonight, and very, very proud to be the superintendent of this district. With that, we also recognized 2 wonderful teachers this week as our Teachers of the Year, and we will celebrate them. I know she just left. We will celebrate them in April. Mrs. Paula Cooper and Mrs. Eileen Kirk were, what's that? Mrs. Eileen Kirk, yeah, were recognized as our Teachers of the Year, and again, they were recognized in April. But what I think is remarkable there is they are 2 of our most seasoned, dedicated individuals, and it's a clear example of what we have here in Milton. Just incredible ladies. So I'm going to do. There's a couple important things we need to do here before we end this evening. One of them is recognition of one of a great member of our team. It's my pleasure to recognize Derek Fink in front of this board this evening for being granted the status as the Pennsylvania Certified Business Administrator. This certification demonstrates dedication to professional growth and commitment to excellence in school business operation and requires adherence to the rigid personal, ethical, and professional standards established by the program. We applaud and encourage and prioritize the professional development he has done. This certification was achieved following completion of all initial certification requirements, along with a demonstrated professional commitment to keeping all school business operations, management, and technical skills updated going forward. So with that, Mr. Fink, very nice certificate to present to you.
One step closer to knowing what I'm doing.
Add that to your wall of fame.
And I think what we'll end with here this evening, I want to look at both ends of this. I want to begin by welcoming, beginning next month, Mrs. Amy Waldron and Mr. Kevin Fry to our board. They will be joining us. Very excited. With that, we are losing two incredible individuals who were very important to me and in my ability to become superintendent here, and that is Mr. Frederick and Mrs. Kessler. They have been a voice in this district for many years, dedicating. What people forget is how much time and effort it takes to do this, and they both have given their heart and soul to this. You know, it has been a pleasure to get to know Mr. Frederick and working with him, and his leadership and his willingness to listen and provide sound, great advice, and I will miss that. I begged both of them to reconsider re-election down the road, but he has been a silent force, I feel like, that just provides such great guidance to this board, and you will be incredibly missed. Ms. Kessler, I think, you know, our team will always know you were key to this project. Anybody that just walked through this building and saw A and B pods knows how much Lindsay has cared about this and still will. I've already said to her, we're not gonna, you know, move from that relationship of talking to her and getting her opinion because she cares so much about our students and our staff. So it is a great gain. We're bringing in two wonderful individuals, I believe, but such a loss for our district. And we are grateful, I think, from everybody on this board. It is not enough, but it's a small token of our gratitude. It's meaningful. I think you'll see that. And we just say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you've done. And with that, Mrs. Rance, I'm good for this evening.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Our motion to accept Dr. Bickhart's superintendent's report.
So moved.
Second? Motion and a second. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, do we have any board comments this evening?
I have a question, not so much a comment. It is for Mr. Scoggins in the middle school. Just wondering where we're at with the badge incident that was started last week. We're still moving forward with the way that it happened on Thursday. If things are going better, we have less kids in the office for a less amount of time.
Yeah, so we did have a small hiccup in the middle school with communication with some parents about some badges, but that kind of goes back to middle of last year. We implemented our student ID system effective with our universal pause, PBIS rewards, and we overcame that hiccup. We did have 95% participation in the building, and the following day we had 99% participation. So we consider that a success and a learning opportunity moving forward and keeping our building safe.
And I think from a district level, it's one of the things we're looking at from K to 12 is where does that stand in our operational practices? So that conversation has begun and will continue to grow. It's not completely done. We need to look at, I think one of the things that we looked at in that was discussed was the need for touching base with parents. And what I recognize is that parents are busy during the day. We need to work with our students on, yes, being responsible, but limiting our impact on a parent having to leave work. So
are the kids getting a disciplinary plan of action when they don't have a badge?
No, ma'am. We asked them to come down if they don't have a badge after they check in the homeroom, and we issue them a sticker for the day.
Is it possible, and I don't know from the standpoint, but can we issue two badges, one that goes home that they can use at sporting events or whatever they need to use to get it, and the other one stay at school and the teachers collect it at the end of the day, and then there's not an issue with that?
That's actually,
we started that conversation. So
that's the actual plan for next year.
Okay.
And we have initial budgeting for that, and we also have once our students are able to take pictures with Life Touch, they offer us a free ID, so we can utilize that as well. So it's really going to be 3.
Okay.
If you think about it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other board members that have comments? I'd like to thank our elementary school and our middle school for the incredible job that you did honoring the veterans. It was very touching. I wasn't able to be at the elementary. I saw pictures, heard wonderful stories. I was able to step out for a little bit at the middle school. So I'm so proud of us. I really am. Thank you for taking that time. Anyone else? All right, any comments from visitors this evening? Anybody have anything they'd like to share? Okay, if not, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Move. Second? All in favor, signify aye. All right, see you later.